What comes to mind when you think of the word excellence? I'm sure everybody has their own meaning for that word. From the dancer to the driver, the cook to the cashier, even the pitcher or paramedic. Everyone has his or her definition. Brian Hulbert is a longtime Las Vegan. This writer, journalist, and author has wondered the same thing. What is excellence? Over the course of his years writing about and covering sports, he came across the word exlete. That spawned a whole new idea all surrounding the word excellence. He launched a new venture and shares his vision on what he hopes will be an interesting, insightful, encouraging also to help others seek excellence in everything they do.
Excellence is a culture.
This exlete idea, which was actually a word said by my former neighbor, and I said, have you ever heard that word before? And he said no, and I went and Googled and couldn't find the word exlete anywhere, and I thought that's just such a great word, I have to do something with it. So flash forward about 10 years, I finally decided maybe a podcast is the way to go because of the popularity of podcasts, and I've always been kind of fascinated with the excellence of people, and created this Magnifying Excellence podcast. Been fortunate to have some great guests already and look forward to many more.
Brian found that every person he's talked to has a different definition for excellence.
Well, I think what's been interesting is in my golf travels, for the most part, being a golf writer and a writer on some different things, I would always throw in the question, how do you define the word excellence? And the biggest thing that was so interesting, and these are some big name people from, you know, LeBron James to Natalie Gulbis to Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, they all kind of pause and say, and many of them would say, wow, that's an interesting, good question. I've never been asked that before, and they think about the answer. And as you know, being in the business, a lot of the times these athletes or entertainers or whoever kind of give a canned answer about what the game was like. Well, you know, we're taking it one play at a time, we're going to do this, do that. When they answer the definition of excellence, they take the time, special care, and really give some interesting, different answers. You know, Marcus Allen, the NFL Hall of Famer, says excellence is a culture. Tiger Woods, when I asked him most recently at the match in a press conference, I said, Tiger, well, how do you define excellence? To him, excellence is winning. And there's so many different answers of people that it just made it very interesting, and seeing their reaction, I think, is what truly motivated me to do this podcast.
Hulbert has already landed 5 of his first 10 guests, and he's landing some very interesting people.
Which are Greg Maddux, his brother Mike Maddux, Susan Anton, Bill Walton, and then Napoleon McCallum, U.S. Naval graduate, former Oakland Raider. And he's kind of truly the one final person that inspired me when I was wondering, should I do this when everybody's having so many difficult times? Should we be talking about excellence? He just kind of looked at me and said, you know, Brian, any time to talk about excellence is a great time to talk about excellence. So, you know, I decided to do this, and talking to Greg Maddux, he had some great stories inspired by a fortune cookie.
Well, yeah, there's a few. They seem to pop up anytime the situation comes up. You think of one. I mean, there's tons of them. Probably the one I probably used the most was I actually read it on a fortune cookie. It said, Confucius once said, underestimating your opponent could lead to catastrophe.
And then the performer Susan Anton, just some great stories about spending time with George Burns, Kenny Rogers.
And I remember the thrill of seeing Sammy Davis Jr. up on the stage at the Sands Hotel. I was 16 years old. I was able to get in because I looked older. And he dazzled me.
And Bill Walton, having Bill Walton give me a 16-minute definition of excellence was something that I'll never forget. And the interesting thing is he wandered and talked for 16 minutes about when I asked him, how do you define excellence? But the whole thing was perfectly tied together.
Because you'll never learn what you don't want to know. So many of life lessons, it takes talent to get to the top, it takes character to stay there. Never measure yourself by what you have done, but rather by what you could have or should have been able to do. Those who are not willing to risk going too far will never know how far they can go.
This is about seeking out and finding the excellence in the world, because it's out there, and I think hopefully, especially during these times, to talk about excellence, to be positive, and try to do good things when so many people are struggling, maybe in a small way. You know, we can give back and try to make the world a little bit better place if we can. Well, we're officially launched. It's xlete.com, xlete.com. All the podcasts and news about excellence is on there. We're currently getting up on all the major podcast networks, but that takes a little bit of time to get uploaded and all that kind of stuff, but we're fully live. You can listen to them right now at xelite.com.
All right, thank you very much, Brian. We appreciate that. xelite.com, interesting excellence. All right, we'll